What is a sign of a cry for help that isn't obvious to the average person? This is the #1 indicator for me personally that I'm going from it's been a bad couple of days to full-blown depression. When I'm driving and there's a near miss with the car and I think it'd be good if they hit me, or I stand on the side of the road contemplating pretending to fall into traffic so it will look like an accident. I knew I was bad currently when someone I know of died of cancer and my first thought was I wish it was me. One of the things I used to say when I was suicidal was, I'd never just in front of an 18-wheeler, but I wouldn't get out of the way, either. I wanted to die but didn't want to be the one to do it because I knew that while an accident would absolutely crush my loved ones, me pulling the trigger would likely cause a chain reaction. It's just a sort of numb acceptance. You wait and sort of hope an opportunity arises. I'm doing better now, but yeah, secondhand suicide is real. This one hurts. My cousin recently returned from deployment and is definitely suffering PTSD. He is also very self-aware. I know he is getting help and he told my husband he wouldn't do anything, but I am terrified. The only thing that prevents it is guilt about leaving our family. Selfishly I am happy about this and knowing it gives us more time to help him, but I just wish I could put things back to normal. Functional depression is very much a thing. I knew a couple of people who kept extremely busy. One friend actually tried to work himself to death. No one noticed, just thought he was very tired, worked night shift and did as much alt as possible while skipping breaks. Made me check in on a friend from school who tried to do like 10 clubs instead of focusing on 1 or 2. Keep an eye on busy people, make sure they're properly eating and sleeping. For real. This thought when I was going through some shit I felt like I really needed someone to ask me if I was okay, because answering no felt like a huge relief and just got me talking to someone. Ultimately that led me to seek counseling, something I'm not sure I would have done otherwise, but I wasn't about to just drop my issues on someone unprompted. I needed someone to ask first. Otherwise I'd just feel like an asshole for burdening someone else with my problems when they didn't ask or consent to that. Even close friends and family. Sometimes asking those small talk questions can be profoundly therapeutic for someone in crisis who's afraid to reach out for help. Yep, I do this all the time. If I reach out to you out of the blue and ask you how you're doing, there's a 50-50 chance I really just want to know how you're doing. I want you to ask me how I'm doing. Not good. Sadly a lot of the time it doesn't even work because people love to talk about themselves. Last weekend I had a breakdown and I kept trying to initiate a conversation with people, and they all read the message and didn't reply. Cool, I guess I can deal with it myself. Shit got worse, but by Sunday I felt like I was doing better. I finally got in contact with a friend. My ex, amicable breakup and now we're friends, and it was going great. We were hanging out, then he was telling me a story and I freaked the fuck out because when he texted me about it initially he used the word I instead of the word we, and I spiraled in a matter of seconds terrified I'd done something wrong in order to be lied to. Why would he lie about who he was with but tell me the story anyway? It terrifies me how quickly I went from okay to incoherent, sobbing and trying to get the words out in the right order. And in hindsight it was obviously some kind of meltdown. I'm glad he has people to hang out with other than me, but the thought of being lied to was worse than the initial trigger for the breakdown, and I wish I'd had more friends to reach out to. Happened to me a few months ago. An old friend I haven't spoken to since college reached out. I knew what was up, in need of talking to someone, so she reached out to me. I answered. We talked about her situation. I helped her. Though when we started talking about the pandemic and how I worried about giving it to my parents, she belittled me and told me to stop caring so much about it. Her views on it were different. She believed the vaccine was pointless to take and decided to take it because where she was going to work at was going to require it. Told me the virus is overblown and a simple tea with ginger cures it. I tried so hard to just drop the subject and move on, but she kept insisting I am wrong and need to listen to her. Realized I don't need that in my life and just cut her off. My cousin once messaged the entire family in a group chat something along the lines of, "Hey, I just want you all to know how much I love you," followed up half an hour later with, "OMG, I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm completely fine and no, I'm not suicidal." Apparently she got spammed by half her relatives. She's a bit of an airhead and really just spontaneously decided she needed to share her feeling with us. But I can see how most people would get concerned. Unfortunately, I've gotten into the habit now of only reaching out when I'm struggling. I don't really know how to initiate contact otherwise. It's like I need that angst to propel me to text, call someone, but I hate being a burden. So I disguise it by being all about them. "Hi, just checking in to see how you're doing." I just did this the other day and caught myself in the act. I was oddly at peace post-messaging everyone when I knew, but then I realized what I was doing and then felt dread. I was have seemingly mild thoughts of the act while doing the whole thing, but didn't put them together after I was done. Hard to explain. But yeah, I threw my phone and left it off until midday the next day. I realized that it was a low-key scream for help as I was feeling the lowest I have felt in a while. Sadly, only 2 people responded the following day. So if I were to be less aware of myself, who knows what would have happened. Great advice, very on point. As per personal experience, I agree with this. Unfortunately, some can't even be responsible due to last year's situation, and a lot of people don't comprehend their own thought train and actions. There is also a paradox in this where being nice with others makes them assume you are okay, up to the point they don't even check on you. To add more problems to the issue, by being nice and understanding with them and assuming you are okay, they end up spilling their own pain. Maybe you can't take any of it even as listening only. Then there are the ones that just leave the moment you tell them you're not okay. At some point manage to steer the discussions to anything but issues, and for a while it worked and some groups of people got the hang of it. The sympathy and empathy were still missing though. Overall, maybe it's better to grab a book, a good movie, and wait it out for a while. 7 cups of tea still works. I had a friend who took his own life a few years ago. He was the type of guy to go out of his way to say hey to everyone at school, make sure everybody was having a good time at the party, or just making everyone feel included. He was like this for as long as I can remember, but he may have been struggling with depression for a long time. I just hope he's free of his pain now. Miss ya and love ya, Ben. Similarly, it can be a bad sign when a loved one starts giving things away excessively as a sign that they're planning to end their life. They give things away because they don't figure they'll need them anymore. I'd guess there are also elements of wanting people to think about them, and maybe giving up the things they feel are keeping them tethered to a life they don't want anymore. Even scarier, it can be a sign of suicidal intent for someone to seem like they're doing better. When a person has made up their mind to end their life, it can sometimes provide a sense of peace for them, and loved ones will often interpret it as progress. This is what I did to my best friend. I was so sad that day. I started joking about killing myself. We usually joke, talk about all kind of stuff, but I kept saying again and again until she asked me if I was okay. Whenever I feel sad, I prefer not to talk to her, because I feel like a burden and I don't want to bother her, because maybe she's having a nice day, playing something with her family, having fun with friends, etc., and I don't wanna ruin sad with my shits. No joke, this lady I used to work with was telling me about how her son gave his skateboard away to a little kid out of the blue, and how proud she was of him being so selfless. My immediate thought was oh my god, that kid is going to kill himself. Of course, how the fuck do you go about telling someone that without sounding like a complete asshole? So, I put the thought away, figured I was probably overreacting anyway. Kid probably just wanted to be nice to the little boy, no cause for concern. The following week, she came into my office, just totally numb, and says, "Can you take care of X thing? My son has been hospitalized. He attempted suicide." I wished I had said something, but there is like no tactful way to say that without royally pissing someone off. Can you imagine being proud of your son for doing something seemingly selfless and then being met with, "Hey, might be more to that. That's a sign that he might be plotting his own demise." Thankfully, the kid survived. Turned out he had some kind of rare tumor that caused his mental health to completely derail. Edit: I appreciate everyone's blame in the comments. I was 20 years old when this happened, full of anxiety and doubt in myself. But thank you all so very much for your judgment. I know it's helped me mentally. Humor about depression and suicide. It is very much a trend to make jokes about depression and suicide. Most of these jokes may not even have any deeper meaning, but sometimes they do. Always check up on people making such jokes. They're not funny. These may be serious cries for help. Do not ignore that. When I was depressed years ago, I made these same jokes. I found them quite funny actually, and it made my friends laugh as well. I thought nothing of it, but it may even have been a sign of early thoughts about suicide in an escapism sort of way. Only when I got out of depression I noticed other people making such jokes and thought, holy shit, I used to make them as well back in the days. These jokes are unconscious cries for help. I can laugh about anything and everything and have no shame. But now that I know the background of suicide jokes, I promise you I will always ruin the mood whenever someone makes a joke like that. I will ask them if everything is right. I will tell them about suicide prevention. I don't care if I ruin your joke. If I save as much as one person from themselves, it will all be worth it. I'm too late to this thread and it will probably be buried in the one-upvote floor. But this was very important to me. They become a robot. Conversations are shallow and mechanically. They don't go out anymore. The spark is gone from their eyes. Life is just a list of boxes to check. Shower, eat, drive, work, drive, home, eat, bed. There's no breaks because if they rest they may never be able to get up again. There's no fun because nothing is enjoyable anymore. There's nothing beyond the bare minimum because even that is exhausting. It's the 1,000-yard stare. It's the hollowness in their voice. It's slowly feeling like you're dying but you don't know why. But you've got shit to do so you're going to do it. Don't rely on signs. Just ask how someone is doing from time to time. A CO worker recently committed suicide. Happiest person I knew. Had a lot of plans, even had a beach trip planned the day after her death with her kids. You would think she would have gone for one last amazing memory for her kids. She smiled at me and said she couldn't wait to attend training scheduled a month after her death. Absolutely no one saw it coming and not a single person said I wish I would have seen this sign or I knew she was sad. Every last person including her partner was completely surprised. Please don't rely only on signs every so often. Just straight up ask people how are you doing, is everything okay? Even if they say yes, makes sure you tell them I'm here for you no matter what. If you are having those feelings of self-harm please I beg of you reach out. There are so many people who will help, even strangers. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Just this year alone I have broken over $2,000 worth of electronics and fits of anxiety and anger that wasn't associated with those devices. Last year one bought a laptop and within a month threw it to the ground and stomped it out of existence. I need help and know I do, but here's the kicker with whatever's going on with me. I just can't find myself to care. I have looked up places of counselors and psychologists and whatnot, but that's all I end up doing. I need more of an intervention forced upon me and less of my roommate telling me to get my shit together because he's tired of fucking hearing about it. I'd say unusual behavior generally. Excessive over or under eating / crying, sleeping. Definitely becoming more withdrawn. But also entering the party scene and going out and drinking. Smoking all the time can be used as a distraction. They're a really neat person and their house is messy. They love to cook but haven't been eating anything. They're pretty religious but now start smoking and drinking. Just little things like that are out of the ordinary for them usually show that something's out of place in their mind too. It's not all about just laying in bed not eating or sleeping for weeks. Different people deal differently. Many do seemingly generous, give stuff away, or fun, go party, long days alone, things, but it could be a distraction, mania, hypomania, or part of a plan, bucket list. Suddenly going out and just kinda doing whatever comes to mind. It's known as a manic phase, and it's what typically follows a depression session as a way to protect yourself from becoming more depressed. This involves maybe sudden 3 a.m. drives, purchases that are normally something the person would think over first, and overall just very all or nothing. I become manic after I'm depressed, and quite honestly I do not remember the entire month of May because of it. Guess I should add a worsening memory to that as well. Bad memory is typically linked with bad mental health. To name a few: depression, anxiety, PTSD, CPTSD, and bipolar. My memory is shit, and I, honest to God, cannot remember what I did last week. I do not remember the entire month of March to May. It's all blurry. I used to have a really good memory, but now I just can't remember things unless this were incredibly significant. Kinda late to the party, but I haven't seen this answer much. Flared temper. Speaking from my own experience, I didn't know how bad I was doing or how much it was showing to people around me until my sister sat me down and told me that pretty much the whole family had noticed that I'd been very quick to anger. The smallest things would make me irrationally angry or frustrated, and while I could bottle a lot, the more build-up there was, the more managed to get away from me. I'd be short with people, abruptly end conversations about topics I'd previously been interested in, shifted blame either off or onto myself, take innocuous comments too personally, things like that. I've seen people in the comments talk about sudden plummets in mood or sudden improvements, a sign someone made the decision to end things, but also watch out for normalies and or kind people becoming extremely angry or frustrated out of nowhere. Volunteering too much information. Rather than saying me and my girlfriend split up, there's a whole story behind it, a reason, purpose, explanation, and blame to some extent. Just information which typically people don't provide when they're content. I think people unconsciously want therapy and will even initiate it without realizing they're doing it. I was talking to someone in Reddit and they happened to say something like, "My best friend's also my ex-girlfriend." That to me screams, I'm not really over that relationship and the situation I'm in is a bit weird. If it were genuine, they'd just say best friend and not bother explaining their link to this person. Also, people who get defensive about a third party or statistic is usually a sign of a personality disorder. When I did psychology at university, there was quite a bold statement that children of single parents are more prone to mental health problems. Disagree, agree. Fine, but there was a girl at the back who said, "Not all children. I never had a dad and I'm fine." To me, that's someone volunteering information and then doing the whole "we're not all the same" spiel. It's a kind of PD attitude personified. They couldn't ignore the statistic or couldn't come up with a counter-argument, so took the weight of the statistic and applied to their own experience and then let 500 people know. My dad always used to say, statistics cannot be applied to single-use cases. If they could, then with 51% of people on Earth being female, I'd statistically be a woman. That would have been the correct acknowledgement rather than a tantrum over a statistic. Spending money frivolously. If your buddy who is relatively poor suddenly starts buying everyone rounds of drinks, paying for meals, buying stupid shit, etc., then it may be time to have a genuine conversation with them if you're concerned. There's a fine line when it comes to getting involved in how other people spend their money. But if this behavior goes along with things like hard drug use, depression, avoidance of responsibilities, then that person may be having some sort of breakdown. Speaking from experience, I just kept spending and spending when I was at my most suicidal until someone asked me why I had like 9 credit cards in my wallet, and I broke down in tears about wanting to kill myself, and thinking I'd never be paying the money back anyway. I rationalized every purchase I made over a year with the thought of fuck it, I'll just kill myself anyway. $22,000 later, and enough was enough. Thankfully I'm paying it all back now and only a couple more years to go.